Motion pictures, can't get enough. Cinephile, movie lover, and a big movie buff. Talking to actors, directors, innovators, athletes to writers, real trailblazers. Yeah, originator, not a duplicator. So honest, always authentic. Tune in, trust me, you don't want to miss it. This is the Monday Morning Critic. Amazing life journeys, great interviews from sports analysts, even reporters too. Captivating, always top content, bringing top quality. Everybody's talking. Yeah, originator, not a duplicator. So passionate and so authentic. Tune in, trust me, you don't want to miss it. This is the Monday Morning Critic. Woo!
My next guest is an actor, a playwright, a director, a musician. His filmography includes Ant-Man and Wasp, The Walking Dead, Game Night, I, Tanya, Office Christmas Party, Quarry, which should have gone to season 2, phenomenal show, $1 Million Arm. I mean, he's in so much. He chose to be a Seminole instead of a Bulldog. We love him nonetheless. His name is Josh Mikel. Josh, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
So I gotta ask, man, like, why? I know you're a big Georgia guy. You are Georgia through and through. Is it because I think Florida State is known for their acting program, or is that the reason why you chose Florida State over UGA?
It is, yeah. There was nothing comparable to the program that Florida State had at the time when I was looking for school. So I was kind of urged to go that direction by a mentor of mine, and it's made all the difference, really, I think.
Yeah, and there's another question I asked, and a director, I had Roger Donaldson on the show, and he directed World's Fastest Indian and a bunch of other things. And I must ask this question 3 times, and I don't think I still understand. What is, like, so I know I saw you in Ant-Man and Wasp, but it says on IMDb, uncredited. One person says that's up to the actor. And then I got 2 other answers, which I was totally confused with. Can you break the tiebreaker here?
Yeah, no, that's certainly up to the producers. When you sign your contract, it's kind of up to them who they credit and who they don't. And so my stuff in that film, I actually worked around 2 weeks on the film, just being that goon for Walt Goggins' character. And they flew me out. I worked a week or so, and then they flew me out for reshoots that lasted about a week, of which I was in maybe 2 shots of those reshoots. But there was some stuff that got removed. There was a bit of so Ghost comes out of this wall and crushed my heart, that they removed, I think, for reasons of keeping it a little bit more fun and family friendly, which I think it succeeds at. Just thinking about this kind of beat existing in that film, I think they made a smart choice. So my stuff got sliced back. I still, I guess show up in there. It was strange, but and then it's producer's discretion. It's like, well, at this point, this guy's essentially a glorified extra. He shows face in there, and so yeah, it's not up to the actor. Had I had the choice, I think I would have still. I appreciate being uncredited because I guess kind of keeps me alive in the Marvel universe. I didn't exactly use my Marvel card. No one's going to be like, "Oh, he was Walt Goggins' goon," you know.
Yeah.
If I audition for another one or something.
And I gotta believe that working with a guy like Walton Coggins, my God, he's just such a great. He reminds me a lot of you in a way. I mean, just personality wise, like you guys are very similar. I mean, obviously I don't know either one of you personally, but just looking at your personalities, your body of work, you guys seem very similar. Am I totally off on that, Josh?
No. I would say he's one of my he's one of my kind of icon actors. I kind of mirror a lot of my choices around what he has done, and it's funny, even this thing I just shot this pilot, and my character, I never got the chance to ask the showrunner writer of the thing, and I haven't yet, but I have a feeling she was writing for a young Walt Goggins in that thing. And so I think I lucked out landing this part, and his stuff, his work is something I cherish. It's funny too, though. I didn't really get a chance to talk. I was hanging around him, hours on end, but my nerves were getting the best of me. I just couldn't bring up a conversation with him.
And now that's one of my questions I have for you. But I have to say, and I want you to take this the right way because it's a huge compliment. I've had almost 100 interviews. I've interviewed Lenny James, tons of great actors. And I have to say, when you take potential and filmography, Josh, your ability is through the roof. Like, I don't know, like, I wish directors, like, don't get me wrong, like, I love seeing you working. Like, you're awesome on game night. Like, I love you and so much, and The Walking Dead gave you a little bit more of a rope to kind of do your thing. I wish there was a director that would just say, here, man, and trust you with stuff that can fulfill your ability, because I'm going to tell you a role that I would see that you're perfect for, right? You'd have to cut the hair, but you'd be like a perfect, like, have you ever seen Primal Fear?
A long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a challenging role that you could absolutely handle. And I hope you're taking this as a compliment, because I want somebody to really just challenge your ability, because you have a ton of it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying so. Ed Norton is another actor whose stuff I love, and the way he at least what I see on screen. I don't know. I've never worked with him. I don't know how he approaches his craft, but yeah, that is quite a compliment. And it's funny though. This particular pilot I'm talking about, it's called Queen Fur. It's a Showtime pilot we shot last month, and we should know in the next couple of months whether or not it gets picked up. Hopefully it does. But that is something I think where I finally have the ability to sink my teeth into something. It would be a series regular role if it goes. And,
nice.
And the character's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that other stuff. That's easy for you. Like, there's some actors where that stuff's the pinnacle of what they do. Like, I just think we're starting to see what you're truly capable of. Now, with a pilot like that, is it just that they look it over, they decide, hey, we go forward with this, or we don't? Is it just that simple?
It is, yeah. They throw a bunch, they throw an episode fee at it. They throw money at it to piece that thing together. Then the network and Sony Pictures, so Showtime and Sony Pictures ordered the thing, and they'll make a decision, I guess, once it's all cut together, sometime in November or so, or later this year, and then then we'll proceed hopefully with an episode order of 10 to 16 episodes or so, which would be amazing. But yeah, it is. If it doesn't get picked up, if Sony and Showtime don't want to continue that relationship with that piece, they can decide to shop it around to other networks. And I have a good feeling about it. It's a great script written by Eileen Myers, who is and it's a full female team, and it just has a lot of good stuff going for it. It's a really fun, smart pilot. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, and usually Showtime puts together some pretty good stuff, because I just had a guy who's a full-time on the show Kidding with Jim Carrey, and Showtime puts together some pretty quality shows. So I'm rooting for you on that one, my friend.
Thanks, man. Yeah, they do some great stuff. I mean, they have certainly have a body of work that, and it seems to be getting better. Their taste seems to be getting better and better.
So, yeah, and I know I have a couple people I want to ask you about. So I know the timeline wasn't the same in the Walking Dead universe, But just your thoughts on Scott Wilson's passing, Herschel in The Walking Dead. I know you didn't, but maybe you guys came across each other in a few cons. I'm not sure. Did you ever have a chance to meet him?
I did, yeah. I resisted the urge to post some in memoriam of him, just because, I did have a couple of conversations with him and some in passing stuff. And he was such a lovely individual, but I didn't know him. I never got a chance to work with him, unfortunately. But just my friends who have shared their remembrances of him, and having, the last conversation I had with him was hopping on a plane. I was heading out west, and he was, I think, also leaving from a convention to head out west. And he was just a lovely guy, and everything you hear about him. When someone can make it through a career like he had, and and not have a lot of blemishes to his name, and not have so many wonderful people that I respect speaking lovely things about him. It's certainly a testament to the guy he was, and his work on the show is fantastic. So we have that to remember him by too.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where, like, you're the opposite of the guy you play. Like, he's one of those guys that is who I think he plays, right? So I think he is that kind Herschel man. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I think even more so. Some of the gruffer stuff you saw from Herschel, I think Scott was not.
Right.
But like I said, I didn't know him too well, but he was the times I did get to meet him, and I chatted with him at one con for a little while, a couple beers in, and he had some lovely stuff to share about cons and about his career, and it's stuff I'll cherish for sure.
Yeah, and that's well said. One of the only 2-time guests on my show, and you've got to be a part of this club eventually, is your buddy Jason Warner Smith.
Oh yeah, Jason's he's become one of my good friends since this show. We just by nature of us joining the Walking Dead universe too at the same time, we end up, we're with the same convention agent. We kind of get packaged together because we were in the same scenes together, and it's been awesome getting to know him. We're heading to Berlin week after next.
Nice.
Together. That's fun.
Yeah, and you guys are very close, obviously, and I've been trying to plead with him, and will you do this too? Did you see American Made?
I have not. I have a copy of it, and I've been meaning to watch. Every time I see him, I'm like, still haven't seen American Made.
He is so good in that. He's got these like short, like Daisy Duke like male version of shorts. I'm trying to talk him into, Josh, making this a permanent part of his wardrobe. I don't think I don't think he wants to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't strike me as a shorts guy, definitely. But I'll do my best on my front.
Yeah, and I look at your characters and you guys as actors, and it's just like you're two of the actors I wish we could have come to know more on The Walking Dead, right? So like you're both of you guys are saviors. You're not really likable people. Jason's character always struck me. Gavin always struck me as that dad who said, "Stop talking, or I'm going to tell you to stop talking again." Like he's like that guy that gave people chances. You guys were just so great for those roles. I mean. And people say, "Oh, it's just a show. It's just a show." And when you're killed off, though, I mean, professionally, you're off a show that you totally love being on. So it is more than just being. And I get it. It's fiction. I get that. But when you're off the show, it's got to still be I don't know. It still hurts a bit, right?
Oh yeah, there's certainly some. It's not. I guess there's more FOMO than anything. It's like. The fear of missing out is like the thing that gets you. It's like, oh man, those guys are picking up the season, and oh man, there's the premiere party, and there's the wrap party, and there's the it's just the fun stuff and being a part of that family, and we still are. But the nature of that show, they're working so hard and such exhausting hours that it's like, they end up kind of hanging out together, and the stuff that when you're on the show you can feel very much a part of that family, and then luckily I get to see Cooper and Kari and a number of the dudes out at conventions pretty regularly, so it's kind of kept that part of it up for me. But I don't see the makeup folks like Tiffany and Tracy and hair and makeup. They were so lovely, and folks that I really enjoy being around, that I haven't had a chance to see since we got off the show, because they just stay so busy.
Sure.
But so there's that stuff. It's like but I'm fortunate because I think in the universe my character probably should have died way sooner. Like for all intents and purposes, like this guy should have been one of the first off when we were taken hostage, and I think that actually was kind of in the cards. There's this bit where Maggie pulls a guy out of the hilltop pen and shoots him. I kind of heard through the grapevine. Maybe one of the producers told me, I don't know, that was supposed to be me. So and that was mid-season of season 8. And so after that, I think I appeared in 5 or 6 more episodes. So with with a character that was supposed to go what I thought maybe 1 or 2 episodes, and then it turned into they were going to kill me off mid-season finale of season 8, and then I ended up making it all the way to the season finale. It's a gift. It certainly was a gift.
And I tell you another gift that you have outside of what I've already said, and Jason has this as well, is you guys are a couple of smartasses, and I mean that in the best way possible. You guys have a great sense of humor. Josh, that's got to be, I can't remember where I read this quote, but I think Einstein or someone said that, having a sense of humor, being able to do that is a sign of higher intelligence, right? Do you find that having a sense of humor like that is beneficial as an actor?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm always trying, and I was fortunate to get the character that I did because he's such a smartass, and I am such a smartass. And that's people always kind of give me credit, like, "Oh, you're nothing like that character." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a lot more like that character than you think I am." But it is nice. I don't know. I don't necessarily consider it a sign of higher intelligence myself, but I'm attracted to smartasses. Those sorts of people, and it's something that's kind of built into my performances too. I'm always looking for a way to kind of make the character in two the directors I really love are the Coen brothers.
Yes.
So and their stuff always has this. Every character, doesn't take themselves. Well, they take themselves very seriously, which makes them ridiculous, right?
Right.
And so that's always the types of characters I'm really attracted to, and people that do have a sense of humor, and people who are kind of screw ups, and yeah.
You were going, like, I had 10 things I wanted to ask you. Then you bring up the Coen brothers, and God, that's so awesome that you would recognize them. And Josh, as a movie fan, which I know you are, even when the Coen brothers miss, and people think they missed on Lady Killers, I don't. I love it. It's still a home run.
Yeah. What's funny, I don't know if I've actually watched Lady Killers all the way through, because I think its reputation preceded it for me. But the stuff like A Simple Man, I think, is another one that people didn't really respond to, and I did. I love it. All this stuff is, but obviously No Country and Oh Brother and Raising Arizona, and it's just their body of work is just Big Lebowski, holy shit.
Yeah.
But, so I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, you're an actor that would flourish in their tutelage, I think. I really do. I mean, and I'm giving you a lot of praise, but I really see it though, Josh. I see that you're the kind of guy that would really you could handle a high expectation or a high volume of work, if that makes any sense.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I think I am a pretty indulgent actor. So it does take a director to be like, hey, maybe that's a little bit too much, and that's something that certainly happened on Walking Dead set, and folks that can recognize all right, maybe now's not the time for a smart ass joke, that's ad-lib, pull it back a little bit, and I think they have the kind of taste, and not only them but their editing team, and so it's a dream of mine for sure.
Yeah, and let me ask you. So you mentioned Comic-Cons. I know that's pretty new to you and Jason, but you've got a few under your belt now. I have an idea for a T-shirt that maybe you could sell at your next one. How about a T-shirt that says "Ben deserved it"?
Yeah, I would love it. It's funny though. I think I was lucky killing Ben off because, no offense to Logan Miller, Ben wasn't one of the most revered characters in life. People liked him, but had I killed a series regular, I think that'd be something to make a shirt around.
Yeah, right.
Giving me that gift. If I had killed Lenny James off like that would have been. If I had killed Morgan, that would have been a. Morgan deserved it type of shirt. But Ben, I feel like that's kind of low hanging fruit. The poor guy.
Yeah, I agree.
Deserve it. I kind of ended his career on the show, and I hate it for him.
And so I mean, you have this, like, the Comic-Con's kind of new, like I said, kind of new to you and Jason. So now you have a few under your belt. What's your take? How do you like meeting the fans? Because I've always wanted to ask. I've never asked an actor this. So like you see athletes, right? Sometimes after games they exchange uniforms, they take pictures with each other. Is there ever a time? And I guess I have two questions. One, it's how you like Comic-Cons, and two, do you ever find yourself in a position to where you want to take a selfie with another actor or get an autograph, or is that just considered not professional in the acting industry?
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I don't take a lot of photos with folks I'm at cons with unless, we're hanging out and we just, it's like, hey, let's document this moment, and inevitably I'll share that thing on Instagram, and people are,
Right.
But it's not, they're your peers, so it's a little different. I had the fortune of being able to do a scene with Robert De Niro, and everything inside me was saying, get a photo of him. But then the actuality of it is, if you do your work and they choose to allow that scene in the film, you have a photo there with them together. You have a scene, which is even better. Like, you don't need someone to sling their arm around you to know that this thing happened,
Right.
But as far as cons go, yeah, there's certainly folks you run across where you're like, oh man, I can't remember. It's funny. The guy's name, he was one of the Fratellis in the Goonies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But he's also he's kind of he was the smaller one. But he was at a Horror Hound Cincinnati, a couple booths down. And the whole time I was thinking, like, man, I would love to get a photo with him. I don't know the actor's name. I should. And that's kind of par for the course for me. I don't know a lot of actors' names. I should. But, that guy has a special place in my heart of my childhood, which is one of those things. It's like, well, do I even want to meet him? Maybe, maybe he won't be as cool as I've always imagined him, or like his stuff in the Goonies, is, I think, something that has also kind of influenced my choices as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, is it good for you to get out there and meet the fans and say hello? Is that something you embrace? Because when I asked Jason that question, he was kind of like, oh, I love it. He goes, I don't understand why somebody would want my autograph. And he said it in the most humble way possible, right? But he said, and I hear that sentiment a lot. It's not just Jason. That's Jason being Jason. But, like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about somebody really liking you and admiring you so much that, you know what, I'd like to get a picture with him. I'd like to get his autograph. That's the ultimate compliment, I would imagine.
It is. It's a lovely thing. I always hold the caveat that, people didn't want my photo before I got on The Walking Dead. And I don't have that much, thank you for doing your research and having seen some of this stuff, especially Corey, which I also believe should have gotten a second season. It was such a well done show, but I've done a lot of stuff. People didn't really recognize me before Walking Dead, and so part of that is that people, when people want my autograph and people want a photo, it's because they love the show so much, right? And for me, it was always that I hopped on a wave that was 6 seasons strong at the point I got on, and had so much hype and love, and had worked its way into the hearts and homes of America and the world. So it was such a fortunate thing to get on the show and kind of, like I said, ride that wave that folks had spent 6 years getting to that point or longer, So but it is lovely to meet the fans, and I don't feel like they're doing it, just because of the show. And I think I got some great stuff from the writers, and yeah, it's an amazing thing. And even that is like, we get paid. You make money to do this thing, which is crazy. Like we were in Scotland, and that is the crazy part. It's like you're getting flown around to show up at these conventions, and people are spending money on those things. Like that's, I got to spend a week in Scotland and just kick it, meet people, talk to people about the show, talk to people about my craft, and it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, that's really well said. And from covering cons, I've covered a bunch, and I've talked to Lenny James a bunch of times, and he's coming back on the show. Is he operating at another level, Josh?
As an actor, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's wild because I think all those guys are so committed. Because I think Andy does have he certainly set a bar for how you should hold yourself on that show. There's not a lot of joking around between takes. There's people kind of, they stay in the moment. They're committed to the work there, and it is fun. Like there are laughs and things to be had, but it's the commitment that people have in the what they're giving to that show, I think it's different than some other shows like I've experienced, and I think it's the nature of the show because you're outdoors, and people are those kind of elements create a tighter knit group, and there's a lot of factors that I think go into play. But yeah, Lenny for sure is because the bulk of my work was with him in season 8 especially. So yeah, he was a wonderful actor to be working with, because you never sense like he was not there for your. He was always there for my coverage. He was always there to participate in this scene. You never sense like he was checking out and doing his laundry.
Right. And you know what? It's from a nerd point of view. It's kind of funny that, well, not funny for Jared, but it's kind of ironic that he and Rick have now found their way. It's almost like you were like the last guy that had to suffer, right? Because it seems like you were the last few guys they killed before they're now everything's great, everything's honky dory. It seems like you literally were like one of the last 2 guys they killed.
Yeah, I lucked out that way. They gave me a character that people, I think, love to hate, and so they kind of stretched it out a little bit longer, and yeah, I lucked out. It was kind of sad because you're opening the pages for your episode, and you're like, oh man, I made it to 8:13. Oh snap, we're breaking out in 8:13. Can't wait to see the pages for 8:14 and what the heck we're gonna do. Maybe they'll keep me around. You're so close. You're so close to season 9, and then 8:14 comes, shows up, and you get the call from Scott, and then you get the pages. I got the call from Scott, and you're bummed, like, oh man, I was 2 episodes away from making it.
Yeah,
making it to the time jump. Which I haven't had a chance to watch the episode yet. So I don't even know how long the time jump is, but I guess it's 5 years or 2 years or. Don't tell me. I'll watch it.
Yeah. You'll see. It'll make more sense when you see like the new Rick, right? He's very subdued. He's very kind of at peace with things.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah. So I have a nerd question for you, and it's not a spoiler from yesterday. So one of the big scenes yesterday was like Daryl, and this is my last Walking Dead question for you. So
sure,
Daryl and Rick are having this awesome exchange, right? 2 great guys, 2 great actors. And Daryl's point was, I liked it better when it was just us, just the group. And Rick's point is, well, no, we're building something big here. We're building something really wonderful here. I don't know, man. Like, I never disagree with Rick Grimes, ever, except last night. I think Daryl was right. What do you think? Was the group better? If you were, I know people have asked you this question. I'm not going to ask you. If you could be someone else, I'm not going to ask you that. But in that small group, would you prefer to have been in that small group, or do you prefer the embracing of other, I'm going to say, colonies? And that'll make more sense after you see it.
It's interesting because I think, so when I got on the show, in hearing about, I got on, I guess at we were shooting it as 7:03. It eventually aired as 7:02. So it was early in the season, but everyone was excited about this world explosion, that suddenly the core group was going to experience all of these different tribes, the heapsters and the folks out at Oceanside. Is that right? Oceanside?
Yep.
And then Hilltop was still in play, and Alexandria's group was still at play, and and the Saviors. I think folks maybe got a little exhausted with all these new characters. So I can see from objectively as a fan, where people are like, well, I don't care. I don't know if I care about these people. They're probably going to die. And I don't know, this whole thing's going to go south. And, when it's just that core group, I think there was something lovely about watching those folks kind of maraud through the territory and get to where they want. But then you wouldn't have had my character around, so
right.
I was fortunate.
No, and I think, and that's well said. I mean, I think I really believe that you and Jason's character, Gavin and Jared, should have been around a lot longer, only because of the ability they brought forth. But it's almost like a different show now, because you can tell there's a big difference between Angela Kang and Scott, the way they kind of see things. I don't know. I just, when I look at the show, I do think it's got a lot of characters, but there's no question, Josh, that you did a phenomenal job with Jared. There's no question.
Thanks, man. Well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.
So let's step out of acting for a couple moments here. You are a drummer, correct?
That's right.
So I'm doing my research. I'm like, I got to ask him this. I remember reading this a couple of years ago. There was a Rolling Stone put out the top, I think, 100 drummers, right? And this is probably a dreadful question for you to answer, because you probably admire a lot of drummers. So in the top 5 is John Bonham. I'm just, I'll throw a couple of names. Neil Peart. Van Halen's a great drummer. Who would you put as your influence, as the guy that you're like, that's the guy I love? Or is it just a bunch of people that you kind of embrace?
No, I was always a Dave Grohl drummer. Like all my stuff, I just play hard. Like my main operative when I first started playing was play hard, play fast, play loud. Like and look, leave it on the stage. Leave the stage exhausted. Which I think later in life, maybe a more tasteful musician myself now. I understand the ability and the what dynamic brings to a song. So maybe I'm less inclined to just go balls out on my drums and search for more dynamic and stuff that's a little jazzier or a little more interesting. But yeah, I'd say Dave Grohl for sure. I grew up listening. I mean, when I was starting to play drums for bands. There was a lot of bands a lot of punk bands, a lot of like Fat Records bands that I really loved, like No Use for a Name, Lagwagon, these bands that were, that are just kind of balls out punk. And then I listened to a lot.
Would the Ramones be a punk band, or are they too mainstream to be punk, you think?
Oh no, yeah. I think Ramones are kind of the iconic punk band for sure.
Right.
Yeah. The same way, the Clash are. Everybody, I think, undeniably punk. But it's funny how catchy those songs are.
Yeah, and I got to say, this is another nerdy question. I've never met Dave Grohl, but there's no way that Dave Grohl is an asshole. Like, he's such a great guy, right? Isn't that the vibe he gives off?
Oh, totally. I've had a chance. I had a chance to meet him when they put out Nothing Left to Lose, I guess. Just at a signing at Best Buy, and I think he, I have theories on this, but I think after something ends kind of so violently and abruptly as Nirvana did, and they were the pinnacle rock band at the time. I think he kind of put it upon himself. It's certainly his cross to bear that he is embodying rock and roll. He just wants to be rock and roll and wants to do it in a way that people that it's not off-putting to people. Accessible rock and roll and not pop. Just still rock and roll, which is it's an amazing thing. Like, it's funny. I saw them maybe 3 years ago 3 or 4 years ago, and he screams through half the set, and you're like, this is essentially a hardcore band, you know?
Yeah.
Guys are like, but they're just so well loved, and write so many amazing hits, and kind of continue to try and reinvent themselves, and I mean, maybe truly the last rock band.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm so glad you just said the last sentence. It's almost like people like Johnny Rotten, or like even like a band, they're not really punk, but like Guns N' Roses. It's like we're already looking at that never happening again. Like, where is that next great, I don't know, band coming from? I feel like now's like a time where R&B is celebrated, and all these other types of music are celebrated. It's like, where, for the most part, there's some exceptions, but where is rock? Where is punk? Am I way off in that?
No, yeah, I think you're right. But it's interesting. I took a little, I don't know, trip away from my normal musical taste, and I started listening to a lot of rap. And it's interesting. The real interesting stuff happening in music today is happening in rap.
Sure.
Like the Russian production. It's not the Cash Money Millionaires, that stuff that we knew, that I think my generation kind of was introduced to rap. Dr. Dre, and kind of stuff that was a little more formulaic. This stuff that's happening today with artists like Kendrick Lamar and Childish Gambino, and it's just J. Cole. Like it's just like really, some of the best stuff happening in music is happening in hip hop and R&B.
No, I completely agree. And kind of going back to acting a little bit, one of the questions I asked you earlier was about meeting people you that are iconic to you, and this is a question I probably know the answer to, but how often do you find yourself, Josh, learning from these guys or girls and putting what they're doing in your back pocket? Like, holy shit, what De Niro just did, man, that's really good. Like, I saw a great exchange with you. If anybody wants to know the sense of humor I'm talking about, there's an awesome one in Bad Grandpa between you and Zac Efron. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's such an awesome, like, so we talk about sense of humor, right? Like, somebody with a good sense of humor could not have pulled that exchange off. It would have been forced, it would have been awkward. But like, even from like a Zac Efron or a De Niro or whomever, Andy Lincoln, do you find yourself on a lot of occasions saying, you know what, I love the way Lenny James did this, or I love the way that Andrew Lincoln did that. Does that happen a lot with you?
I mean, not really. Aside from their focus, like I don't think there's a lot you can. I don't know. That's a tough question. It's interesting because it's not that I don't respect their craft. It's just that I have my, by the time you make it to you've been working for a while, you have a toolbox that
Sure.
you rely on, and so my way to get to a character isn't exactly their way to get to a character, or to get to a emotion or whatever we're doing. When you're talking about that Dirty Grandpa scene in particular, for me, that was one of the first times that I was able to kind of screw around, and I felt confident that a director was appreciating my stuff, and that Dan Mazer, who he produced a lot of the Ali G. He produced Ali G, and he produced this most recent Sacha Baron Cohen show, Who is America, or is that right? He was the director there, and you kind of get the sense when folks are treating the script like a blueprint, but not like gospel. That you're allowed to deviate from the script a little bit and have fun and make that scene real and alive. That's the cool stuff that I think happens in film and TV. You're allowed to do, coming from the stage where it's the poetry of the lines that is important, and it's honoring the playwright's voice, which is the important thing, because it's so much more about the words on the stage,
Yeah, and you make my point even more valid. It's like you have a director that trusts that, I know Josh is a good guy. He gets it. I mean, especially if he's worked with Sacha Baron Cohen, he definitely gets it. Like, I don't know, it helps to have not only an actor with your ability with a sense of humor, but a director that can see that in you and say, you know what, let's give this guy some extra room here and let him do his thing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they were just rushed for time, and that's my ego. Like, oh yeah, Dan loves my stuff, and I'm just gonna screw around, and then whatever ends up making it there makes it. But yeah, it's lovely when you get to kind of play around with the text.
Yeah, and let me ask you, Sacha Baron Cohen, is he a genius or what?
What? Oh, so I never actually worked with him. I worked with Dan Mazer.
Right. I understand that, but like, it's just his work in general. I'm asking more of as like a movie fan or a movie buff. Between Borat and all this stuff, is he a comedic genius or what?
It's funny. I don't. Before Who Is America, I don't think I really respected his work. But now, because I just felt like it was one of those. It was just making fun of people, comedy at other people's expense. But then when you target it to folks that I'm pretty out. You don't have to go very far on my Twitter feed to realize that I'm pretty outspoken politically. But when you're doing it towards people that I think need to be revealed as these monsters that they are oftentimes, so that's where I think his genius reveals itself.
Yeah.
But I think that that book is still being written. We'll see what he continues to do, and he is kind of pushing the lines of comedy art, right?
Yeah, and you know what? If a guy like that fails, it's good in a way because at least he's trying to do something different, and it's, I don't know. So I have to ask, when you look at 10 years, 15 years down the road, well, what's a place you'd like to be in? I get, actors have to work, they have to do their thing. What to you is a place where you're going to be happy, and what needs to happen, or if anything? Is it just continually getting work, doing your thing, having people trust in your craft? What is it that, Josh, will be gratification for you down the road?
Man, I think that's something I've always suffered at. I don't really possess a long-term vision in the way that I think a lot of folks do. Like that, I have this be-all, end-all. I do. I mean, I love working. I love I love the challenge that every new script brings and every new audition brings. I love auditioning, which I don't think a lot of actors do, which is amazing to me because it's work still. I love reading opposite other actors who are auditioning. I love the craft. All the other stuff is a little bit frustrating. All the social media and trying to keep up a presence and that stuff. I don't think you'll meet an actor out there that really loves it, that truly loves it. It doesn't feel like they're giving away a piece of themselves.
Right.
But the work is amazing. So if I can continue working in this field and in this craft, then I'll be stoked. And if I still have some crossover and I'm able to continue creating in other outlets.
Yeah, and let me ask you, and this is a real general question. What did Florida State teach you? What did you come to realize about yourself at Florida State, looking in the rear view? What do you, when you look back in that rear view mirror, what did you find that, Florida State was essential for this? Like, is that a legitimate question? Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yeah. What I think I really learned, well, I'll preface it with saying that my parents really they struggled to put me through school. And at the time I didn't realize that sacrifice of how much it would cost to go out of state and, spending $800 and something a credit hour. And so they mortgaged their house and double mortgaged house. So I think I was a little naive going into school, but then I think I started to understand that weight and the sacrifice that they had made, and so that kind of compelled me to make the best of my schooling, whether or not that was happening in classes. I did well in my classes, but the stuff the real learning I think happened outside of class. So they have like a phenomenal film school down there. I was able to hop over and do a bunch of student films. I must have done 15 or 20 by the time I left, and kind of got some young actor terrible acting out of the way, and built up my chops and that stuff. And a lot of the student theater I did was some of the better work that I ever did. The stuff that was not happening as part of the Florida State School of Theater. It was the student theater stuff that I was excited about. So I just kind of learned to be resourceful in a way that that it's a big enough school you can get lost, but if you kind of work hard and keep your nose, keep your head down, stuff pays off for you.
Yeah, and boy, you've really hit on some things here. It reminds me a lot of my life. And I'm not trying to make this interview about me in any way, but like when you have your parents, because they did the same for me, mortgage your house. Like back then, my attitude was it's almost like, well, they have to do that. They're my parents. But as you get older and you look back, Josh, it's the ultimate form of love there is, right? Is there any better way for your parents to tell you how much they love you than to put their house on the line and send you to school?
I mean, it's just wild. Yeah, it's something I really have not had a chance to repay. But and like you said, you do feel a sort of entitlement when you're that age. You're like, oh yeah, it's just what they do. I'm going to school. Like, you should have known about this. Why didn't you plan for this? It's like, well, you little shit. Like, we expecting you to go to an in-state school and get the Hope Grant and have your college paid for. You deciding on a whim that you're going to go out of state isn't really in the cards.
Right. And it's amazing with schools like Florida State, the difference between in-state versus out-of-state tuition is unbelievable.
Oh yeah. It's just dirty. It's just a dirty thing.
It is. It's like saying, Josh, and I mean to interrupt you, but it's like saying like I have a guy from Georgia that desperately wants to be this thing and really hone his craft, but we're going to make him pay double and make it really hard for his parents to make this thing work. I don't know, man. To me, it seems it's not just Florida State. It's a phenomenal school, but I don't get the mindset in having two different tuitions. Like, to me, it seems it's not equitable in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the finances of it. That state schools are receiving a certain amount of state money, and if you're paying taxes in that state, you should be entitled to a cheaper tuition. I guess maybe that's some of the reason why they do it. I hated it because the only comparable program in Georgia, I think, was maybe Emory, and Valdosta State had kind of a burgeoning theater program, but nothing like Florida State, where they had a film school. And then that was something I was attracted to, is that they had a film school that was, if not world renowned, it was nationally renowned, and as well as their school of theater. And then I picked up some creative writing classes and double majored in creative writing, so I was able to make the most of it, really, but spend a lot of money in the process.
Yeah, and my next question to you is, I think maybe it goes towards the line of advice. So, like, right now, like, there's tons of people that call themselves quote-unquote actors, right? Just like there's tons of people that call themselves podcasters. And it's like, I guess my question to you is more of advice, like I said. Like, how much of that is, how do you distance yourself from the pack? So, like, I was listening to a couple interviews you were on, and I'm like, that's a really great question. And other times I'm like, geez, that's, somebody might be listening to this interview saying, how many goddamn times is this going to tell him he's a great actor, right? So I get that, but like, how do you distance yourself? Whether you're an actor, a podcaster, like I work my ass off doing this. Not that I want a round of applause, but I bust my ass. I know you bust your ass. You do your thing. How do you distance yourself from the pack? How do you make your work matter? How do you make it not like anyone else that just flips on a microphone, or anybody else that wants to just be on a stage? How does that work? I guess it's more of advice than anything, Josh.
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? You work your ass off. I think a lot of people get the false impression because they see the successes, right? They're seeing people's victory. They're show reel. They're not seeing the work that went into a lot of these folks, and maybe we're doing folks a disservice by not sharing the work. I don't really like talking about auditions I get or how much I put into a role that I didn't get. Like, that's the stuff that falls by the wayside, and
right.
It just builds your character. It's the work ethic that I think is everything. And a lot of folks, if there is anything, it's so stupid. You hear it over and over again. You've heard it all your life. It's like, you just work hard, man. You'll get there. But I just don't think people understand what work hard means. They think they're working hard if they get up and they build a website and they spend $150 to do it, and they maybe clocked a couple extra hours at their job to pay through that. It's like, I don't know if that's the work. I don't know. Like that on top of like, everything else, that on top of reading everything you can get your hands on, and that on top of watching everything you can possibly view, and that on top of reading through the Variety or whatever, Hollywood Reporter, to keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening, and that on top of writing your own stuff, and that on top of producing your own stuff, and learning how to use the editing software, and knowing, the best thing I think most, if this is going to boil down to any advice, the best thing I can do, the best advice I can give you is don't be a burden to other people with your work, right? Like, so many actors are like, you're like, oh man, I got an audition. I need you to help me tape it. I need you to help me cut it. I need you to help cut my reel. Like, just learn how to do that stuff. That's something that's part of your. I'm sure you cut your own podcast, right? Or
yeah, I do. Yeah,
your own stuff. You know how to work your equipment. You know how to get a proper recording over Skype. Like that stuff. I'm sure other podcasters aren't doing. They're just throwing it on a phone. Like the lovely thing about technology is it's made things easier for us, but it's also made people lazy as an MRFer. And so this wash, this the cult of the misinformed. Sorry, man, that's a little soapboxing.
No, that's exactly what I wanted. And, I guess my next question is, and I have a few more. Thank you so much for giving me all this time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So are you picky, reflective, critical? Because, and I hate bringing myself into interviews, but when I do a podcast, I edit, I analyze. I mean, I'm almost anal because I try to be better than the last podcast. I try to come up with questions that not only that I care about, but that you will find interesting too. Like when I was doing some research, I've seen podcasts where the host oversleeps, where it looks like they're recording from a muffled, like I want to be better than that, but not just other people. I want to be better than me. I want to be better. I want to reach that next pinnacle. So yeah, I'm very critical of myself more than anyone else. And, are you picky like that? Are you reflective? Are you critical? Do you look at yourself and say, damn it, in 7-2, my first appearance in The Walking Dead, I wish I did this and not that?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about that very thing maybe 2 hours ago. When I was thinking about my work on The Walking Dead, there's stuff I don't think I committed to things 702 and 710 and 711. That season 7, I was so anxious to make it to the next episode that my work ethic towards those episodes was different than I think my work ethic was in season 8. And I still worked. It's just the preparation, I think, wasn't the same because I felt like I felt pretty certain that I was going to be killed the next episode. Every episode that came out, it was going to be my death day. So the kind of work that I put into those first couple episodes, I'm not sure if I put into season 8. And that's certainly a learning experience. It's a regret because you get on a show like that. It's the biggest show. You're getting a lot of attention. It's tough. I think you get a little jaded, but recognizing, if you can step back and recognize that in yourself and learn not to do it again, that's the stuff, right?
Yeah, well said. And so to get into a field like acting, and I only have a few more questions for you. To get in a field like acting, you have to be moved by something. So what actors or movies, and I know you've definitely been asked this, but I have to ask, for me, I love Shawshank. Like, for you, what is it? Who's the actor? What are the movies? Or is it just, I just love being a goddamn actor?
Yeah, I love, like we had mentioned, I love the Coen brothers.
Yep.
I've loved John Malkovich for a long time. I had this kind of weird. I always wanted to look like him or Michael Stipe for some reason. And I love both of their kind of androgyny. I know Michael Stipe is actually gay, but I love these characters who kind of defy who defy kind of categorization. And I think John Malkovich does that all the time. Like I just think it's so interesting. There's like I said, I love Edward Norton.
Yes. Yep.
But there's a lot of stuff that it's wild too. The longer I go along in this career, the more I realize, people talk about certain actors not having made missteps, and the truth is, when you look at a certain person's IMDb and you're like, oh, I didn't realize they did that movie. I don't know what that movie is. I've never even heard of that. What is that? It's not well rated, and maybe it was a flop. And you think, or even like Robin Williams, I watched that documentary on him the other day on the plane. It's gutted me. But an actor like that, who I guess started out as a comedian, but he has a long body of work, and there was stuff that he appeared in that maybe he was less happy with. It was just that his successes were more numerous than his missteps, and I think that's all you can hope for at the end of a career. Is that you're going to make some bad decisions along the way. It's just how you, like that cheesy thing. It's like it's not how you get knocked down, man. It's how you get back up.
But there's a lot of truth to that. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
what is the next thing? What are you looking towards next? Are you reinventing yourself, or are you still excited by the craft? Are you still excited about the work in front of you? Hopefully so. And you're allowed that kind of terrible. You're allowed those terrible roles.
And you brought up, Robin Williams. I mean, we talked about another guy, very much like Dave Grohl. There's no way Robin Williams was he's just such a sweet, sweet man. And I know the documentary you're talking about, it absolutely rips your heart out. It's like, he's one of those guys, like, obviously, I didn't know him, but he's just such a phenomenal actor, phenomenal entertainer, and just a wonderful human being who was suffering with some things.
Yeah, but it's he gave so much of himself to people. He wanted to be the Robin Williams that everybody loved for everyone all the time, right? And you can on a much smaller level, you can empathize with that when you go to these cons and you're trying to be on for everybody because they're paying money to come up and see you, and you want to have an engaging conversation with them, and you want to give them an experience that they appreciate and remember. And then when you get away from it, like I come home afterwards, and I was talking to Jordan Woods Robinson. I don't know if you've had him on. He's a lovely
Yes,
dude.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to him about it, and it's like, when I come home from a con, he's done a lot more than me. So he was saying that when he comes home from a con, he needs a day. He tells his wife, like, listen, I'm just exhausted. Like I'm not going to give you a lot right now. Like I'm just not mentally there. And you start to understand that thing. And I think for Robin Williams, I think it was that times 1,000.
By the way, also a fellow musician.
Yeah, right. Yeah, pretty
yeah.
amazing. I got to make it down there and see him in the Blue Man stuff.
Yeah, wonderful guy. So two more questions for you. So you brought up a Goonies thing earlier. I finally researched it. Were you near Joe Pantoliano or Robert Davi?
Joe Pantoliano. Yeah, I looked it up too, but I just didn't have a good time to sneak it in.
Yeah, I mean he's been in so many awesome things, right? I mean I don't know. That's a great name.
Yeah, that was one of the cats. It was like the final day, and I think we were there for 2 or 3 days at this particular convention, and the whole time I was just like, man, I want to go down and shake that guy's hand. But and it's the same it's the same thing I think that most people feel when they're approaching a booth at a convention is, I don't know what to tell him aside from I loved your work, and sometimes that's lovely, but this guy's been talking to people chronically. He doesn't need that from the people who are working alongside him, you know?
Right. He's been hearing it for the last 10 hours. To hear it from another guest at a show might be like, all right, dude, like, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just heard this for 10. Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. So I got to ask, you mentioned a con coming up. You mentioned a project. Is there anything you want to promote or get out there before I let you go?
Yeah. So I'll be at Gulf Coast Fan Fest in Mississippi this coming weekend. After that, I'm heading to Berlin for a con, and then the next week is Walker Stalker Atlanta. So I've been fortunate. I'm trying to ride this wave of conventions until the shelf life expires on these jokers, and people don't want to see me there anymore. So I'm doing my best to get out to as many as possible. And then I'll be in a film next year. I've got another goon part called it's a film called Stuber with Kumail Nanjiani and Dave Bautista. I think it's gonna be real funny. And then look out for Queen Fur. It's a project I really believe in. Hopefully we'll get picked up and we'll be shooting. We'll be finishing up our series, our first season this time next year.
His name is Josh Mikel. Josh, nothing but love and success for you down the road, my friend.
Appreciate you, Derek. Thanks so much.